Well, February 2025 is over, so now let's go back and recap some lost media found in that month. Love Letter: My True Feelings is a controversial cancelled stealth action video game that was developed by Dr. Apis in 2020, with it originally being announced back in July 2020 under the name Lovesick, with a trailer for it being uploaded to YouTube, claiming to be a revamped version of the stealth action video game Yandere Simulator that was done in 2 weeks. Upon the trailer being uploaded, the game would end up getting a lot of attention, with it getting the most attention from the Yandere Simulator team, including its developer Yandere Dev, who would harshly criticize the game's trailer for using most of Yandere Simulator's assets and characters, which eventually led to Yandere Dev and Dr. Apis getting into an argument, with the majority of their argument getting leaked online, causing the game to end up gaining a lot of internet attention. Later, Dr. Apis would announce that all Yandere Simulator related assets in his game would now be replaced with original assets, and that Lovesick would be renamed to Love Letter: My True Feelings, before uploading gameplay previews and progress reports of the game to his YouTube channel. Not long after, it was revealed that Dr. Apis had worked on other failed Yandere Simulator type games, with several of the replaced assets and game mechanics in Love Letter being identical to those of his previous games. However, things would get even worse for Dr. Apis when it was discovered that he had sexually harassed a 10-year-old through several explicit conversations, as explained in a document. While the game was in development, no builds of it have ever been released online, not even the original Lovesick version of the game. And it wouldn't be until very recently when on February 1st, 2025, a build from September 2020 would surface online, after it got leaked back in November of 2024, making it the first build of the game to get found. The Illiac Passion is a 1967 American avant-garde film directed by Greek-American experimental filmmaker Gregory Markopoulos, and it is considered to be one of his most acclaimed films he ever directed, with it exploring the topic of bisexuality and being based on a Greek tale called Prometheus Bound, that was written by ancient Greek playwright and soldier Aeschylus, who based his tale on the myth of Prometheus, a titan who defies Zeus, and protects and gives fire to mankind, causing Zeus to punish him and suffer his wrath. The film was first screened at the 4th Nocle Zoot Experimental Film Festival in 1967, where it would not win any awards due to the festival jury making a controversial decision to not consider the film for anything, since Markopoulos had previously won an award for his 1963 film called Twice a Man, and later in April of 1968 the film would premiere at the filmmaker's Cinematic. It is also known that the Illiac Passion was planned to be screened at the National Gallery of Athens in 1980, however its screening was cancelled due to the film containing nudity. Also, fun fact about the film, it was known for featuring American visual artist, film director, and producer Andy Warhol as a cast member, where he played the Greek mythological god Poseidon, who appears in the film riding an exercise bike, instead of him riding on a chariot pulled by 4 fish-tailed horses like his usual depiction. Later in his film career, Gregory Markopoulos would withdraw all of his films from circulating anywhere because he wasn't happy with the ways his films were being shown, and also thought that having a limited audience to watch his films would be more attuned to his wavelengths, resulting in the film never being publicly released, with it only being archived at the Anthology Film Archive's Essential Cinema Repertory Collection. However, the film would recently get leaked on the internet on February 1st, 2025, making it now available to watch. El Chavo del Ocho, or simply just El Chavo as it would later be known as, was a Mexican sitcom that was created by Roberto Gomez Bolaños, who is most well known by his nickname Chespirito, meaning Little Shakespeare in English. And the show aired from 1973 to 1980, airing across countries in Latin America and Spain, spanning over 8 seasons and 312 episodes. In case you don't know who Chespirito is a Mexican actor, comedian, screenwriter, director, and producer, who is considered to be a very iconic figure in the Spanish entertainment industry. So iconic that he is considered to be one of the greatest comedians of all time. In his character El Chapulín Colorado, who he played in one of the series he starred in that is named after the character, would be the inspiration for Simpsons creator Matt Groening to create the Bumblebee Man character in his show, Which, funny thing is that when I first saw El Chapulín Colorado, I immediately thought that he reminded me of the Bumblebee Man character, before I even found out that he inspired his creation. Also, as numerous commenters in my video about Lost Media found in June of 2024 mentioned, Chapulín Colorado would become an outfit in Fortnite and later in LEGO Fortnite Odyssey. In El Chavo del Ocho, Chespirito plays the main character who is named El Chavo, and he is an orphan child whose life is split between pestering his adult neighbors and getting in trouble with other kids on the vecindad, which means neighborhood in English. The sitcom's primary focus is to explore a lot of the problems that many homeless children face on a daily basis, while doing it in a lighthearted and comical manner, using slapstick, irony, recurring gags, and humorous situations that the show's characters usually get into. And also, the character El Chavo is considered to be one of the most iconic characters in the history of Latin American television, with him still being iconic even to this day. Out of all of the show's 312 episodes that were broadcasted, 39 episodes were absent from the most recent distribution package by the show's production company Televisa, with it being almost impossible to pinpoint the exact moment when these episodes were excluded. Although, in 1987, a package of El Chavo episodes were sent to the Brazilian network SBT, which contained some of the excluded episodes. So it's possible that some, or maybe even all of the excluded episodes were still being distributed in the years after El Chavo was cancelled. Although, any years after the 80s are unknown on whether any of the excluded episodes were distributed. Reliable and official information from Televisa about the missing episodes is pretty much non-existent, as the company refuses to acknowledge the existence of them, and even when they do acknowledge them, they just lie about their availability, since they have told customers that their current pack of El Chavo episodes is composed of every episode ever produced, even though their claim has been debunked several times by fans of the show through multiple external sources. Many fans of the show were very upset with the 39 episodes going missing, including Chespirito's second wife, Florinda Meza, who played a character on the show named Doña Florinda, and her niece, Popis. And she would contact Televisa on separate occasions to report any airings of the missing episodes in foreign countries in hopes of getting them back to distribution. However, Televisa would end up showing no signs of interest with her reports, leaving the 39 episodes to still be excluded from any distribution packages. Despite there being a lack of official info given by Televisa, many fans of the show have managed to come up with multiple rumors and theories as to why the episodes were not included in any distribution packages, such as the episode's tapes being too damaged for distribution, the episode's tapes being erased, and the episodes not being distributed due to censorship. And believe it or not, some fans even speculated that an earthquake that hit Mexico City in 1985 was a reason or the reason as to why the episodes went missing, since the earthquake caused damage to Televisa's main station, although this theory was proven to be false, as the only archive of episodes that Televisa had that were affected was the sports archive. Finding any of the missing episodes of El Chavo is a very hard thing to accomplish, as the episodes are over several decades old, leaving them to be forgotten about as time went on. However, missing episodes of El Chavo are still being found to this day, as proven very recently on February 4th, 2025, when a Season 2 episode from the show that aired on September 2nd, 1974 was found through a 1982 Betamax tape recording of the Colombian network Inravisión, and the episode's title is Don Ramón el Fotógrafo, which translates to Don Ramón the Photographer in English. This next entry is a pretty short one, but may interest you if you are into Lost Wave. The song that this entry explains is an 80s song called Love Scene that was formerly known as Lights, Camera, Action, and it is a funk song that was recorded by a New York-based artist known as Geo. The song originated on the internet back in 2011 from a Lion Funk mix, when Dailymotion user Funky Style 80s posted the mix to Dailymotion without giving credit to the song's artist, and it would leave internet users puzzled as to what its name is and who recorded it. But recently, on January 31st, 2025, the song was identified by two users on the internet named Basketry and Edgar as Love Scene by Geo. However, at the time of the song and artist being identified, the original version of the song wasn't available to listen to in its entirety on the internet, even though the Lion Funk mix of it was. And that would be the case for only 4 days, when the full version of the original mix of the song was posted to YouTube on February 4th, 2025 by Q, making it available to listen to. Blue's Clues was an American children's television show that ran on Nickelodeon for 10 years from 1996 to 2006, and the show centered around a dog named Blue and her owner Steve, who was played by Steve Burns. And from 2002 onward, Steve was replaced by a new owner named Joe after Steve Burns left the show, and Joe was played by Donovan Patton. In episodes of the show, Blue leaves a trail of clues/paw prints for the host and the viewers to figure out her plans for the day. And early episodes of the show would primarily focus on teaching basic subjects, such as colors and numbers, before the show would focus on teaching math, physics, anatomy, and astronomy in later episodes. Now, I imagine a good portion of you guys grew up watching the show, as it was massively popular and was critically acclaimed. So popular that it would even get a revival series in 2019 called Blue's Clues and You, along with a new owner for Blue named Josh, who was played by Josh Dela Cruz. And before that, it got a spin-off series in 2004 called Blue's Room. However, I imagine a good portion of you guys, or more like almost none of you guys, ever knew about a Korean adaptation of the show. And yes, there actually was one, believe it or not. And it was called Riddle Blue when its title is translated, although sometimes its title is translated differently as Mystery Blue. Riddle Blue aired on the South Korean television network KBS2 from 2000 to 2001, so the series was short-lived. And the series didn't feature Steve, instead featuring a different owner for Blue who was referred to as Uncle, played by South Korean comedian Hyun-Sup Shim. And the series' opening theme song was different compared to the original series' opening theme song, which was the Blue's Clues theme in seasons 1 to 4 and another Blue's Clues day in seasons 5 and 6. And it was simply a Korean folk song. A total of 32 episodes from Riddle Blue are confirmed to exist, and as of making this video, 11 of those 32 episodes are completely found, and 2 episodes are partially found. And recently, on February 4th, 2025, 7 of those 11 found episodes were found via a Google Drive link by a YouTuber named JJJ4, which were featured in 2 separate videos, and eventually they got uploaded to the Internet Archive 1 day later. Pressure Luck is an American game show that aired from 1983 to 1986 on CBS with Peter Tamarkin as the host. And in the show, contestants would answer trivia questions to earn attempts, which are called spins in the game, on a randomly cycling game board, to win cash, prizes, extra spins, and even special items, if they land on them. However, contestants can also end up landing on the show's mascot, which is this red cartoon character you are seeing right here called a whammy, which erases all the cash and prizes accumulated while also displaying a short and comedic animation. And by the end of the game, whichever contestant has the most money wins the game. Despite the show airing for only 3 years, it would receive a good amount of media attention and receive 2 revival series after its cancellation. One in 2002 called Whammy, the all-new Pressure Luck with Todd Newton as the host, and one in 2019 that shares the same name as the original series that was hosted by Elizabeth Banks. And as of 2024, it is still airing new episodes, and possibly even after this video is uploaded. Pressure Luck was also popular enough to earn it several international adaptations, which were for the countries Australia, Germany, Turkey, and the United Kingdom. And the UK adaptation ended up being a very short-lived series, with it only airing on television for 1 year. Airing on HTV West, which is now known as ITV Wales and West, and being hosted by Scottish television presenter Paul Koya. Not much is known about how the game show differed from the American version, besides the known fact that it was produced with a lower budget, and that the game played the same as the American version, albeit a point system was used, and the episode's winner received €200. The UK version would end up not being as popular as the American version and suffer a decline in viewership during its first series, resulting in the show being scheduled to air on Saturday afternoons instead of on Thursday nights like it did before it was then moved to Sunday afternoons when its second series premiered on television. However, the show would ultimately end up getting cancelled following the premiere of its second series due to budget cuts that resulted from the ITV franchise auctions of 1991, as well as due to its low ratings. After the show was cancelled, it was never picked up by any other ITV franchise and also never aired on television again, resulting in all of its episodes ending up becoming lost. Recently, on February 5th, 2025, game show host Wink Martindale would upload the show's third episode from its first series, giving us a chance to finally view an episode from the show in over more than 30 years. On January 29th, 2002, a live touring show would open called VeggieTales Live on Stage that was based on the American Christian CGI animated series VeggieTales, and since then there have been multiple shows of VeggieTales Live. However, as of making this video, there have been more live shows that ended up being partially lost and completely lost than live shows that were found. And there have been a total of 9 live shows, with the last show opening in 2015. Prior to February 7th, 2025, the first show from 2002 was a show that had yet to be found in its entirety. However, it would end up being uploaded to YouTube by the Ultimate Unofficial VeggieTales channel very recently, thus making it no longer lost. On January 14, 1989, WMAQ Channel 5 was airing multiple segments on their channel that were PSAs, followed by a meditation segment, before they would sign off their network for the night, where they would play the American National Anthem before abruptly cutting to a very poor quality photo of a woman that is missing, with text at the bottom indicating to the viewer that her name is Joanna Lopez and to call the number 312-744-5594 if you found her or know some additional information about her case that authorities should know of. Just seeing her photo appear on your television screen at night without any other given background information about her would probably make you feel uneasy. Mostly due to her photo being in bad quality and also because there's only faint static from the TV that can be heard while her photo is being shown, which would be shown for several hours until WMAQ Channel 5 would start broadcasting the next morning. The case surrounding Joanna Lopez would become more eerie when on January 14, 1991, exactly 2 years after WMAQ Channel 5 showed her missing person case, WMAQ Channel 5 would show a photo of her again, indicating that she is still missing and still giving no other additional information about her, other than her name and a photo of her that looks like it was taken with a potato. Although the quality of her photo was slightly better than before, so I'll give them that. You also may be asking if people have called the number below her photo before, which was connected to Chicago police, as the channel is based in Chicago, Illinois. And to answer that question, yes, they have. However, whenever they did, they would receive no response from the police. leaving many people trying to solve her case to theorize that she never existed, with some even saying that her photo was simply a test photo that WMAQ used for later photos that they would show on their channel. However, we don't know if that theory is true or not, as people have brought up other plausible theories about her case, such as her being a runaway, her being the 1994 Chicago Jane Doe, and her name being mistaken, with her name actually being Rachel Lopez, who was a student that went to a Chicago community high school. And the reason why people believe this is because Rachel and Joanna share the same features, with them both having glasses, the same hair, and the same skin tone. And also, Rachel went to high school in the 80s, which is likely when Joanna was going to high school. Up until recently, there have only been 2 occurrences in which Joanna Lopez's picture was shown on WMAQ Channel 5. However, on February 9th, 2025, YouTuber Garbage Pail Flicks would upload a video to YouTube containing a compilation of WMAQ commercial breaks, along with a sign-off in the end, that were from 1989 and 1990 according to the video's description. And after the sign-off at 45 minutes and 45 seconds into the video, we can see Joanna Lopez's missing person case being broadcasted, with the same amount of information given like the other 2 broadcasts. So now we know that Joanna Lopez's missing person case has been broadcasted on WMAQ at least 3 times. Alright, so quick entry here, but an interesting one nonetheless. Very recently on February 10th, 2025, a lost SpongeBob SquarePants short from 2015 got leaked on the internet, and it was titled Order Up, with it containing no dialogue. There is not much information known about the short, but according to a post on the Encyclopedia SpongeBobia website by Chloe LH SpongeBob TTG Fan 2021, gosh that is a long username to say, the short could have played before the SpongeBob movie Sponge Out of Water or The Little Prince, which makes sense since they were both movies that released around the same time as the short being made. And also, with it being announced on February 7th, 2025 that it will release in July 2025, it might release alongside the new Smurfs movie. I also managed to find several comments from Reddit users suggesting that it would release alongside the movie Monster Trucks, which is a possibility since Nickelodeon Movies was one of the co-producers for the movie, and I think we all know what SpongeBob and Nickelodeon have to do with each other. From September 16, 1985 to January 10, 1986, an American game show would be broadcasted in syndication called Catchphrase. That was hosted by game show host Art James, who had hosted other game shows prior to hosting Catchphrase. And it would be his last game show he would host before retiring from television. In Catchphrase, contestants try to figure out what familiar phrase is being represented by an animation shown on screen. However, they are unable to figure it out at first due to 9 squares blocking the animation, with each of them having amounts of money being shown on them. And in order for a contestant to remove a square, he or she must answer a toss-up catchphrase by hitting their buzzer first and guessing a catchphrase that is based on an animation shown on screen correctly. And whichever contestant answers a correct answer, he or she would win a randomly generated amount of money, as well as remove one of the 9 squares, which was whatever square had the money that was randomly selected. The contestant then gets a chance to guess the catchphrase behind the wall of squares, this time there being 1 less square than before. And if they don't guess it right, or don't guess at all, which is what they would be more likely to do, another toss-up catchphrase is given, and everything I said before repeats until a contestant correctly guesses the catchphrase, which becomes easier as the game progresses forward, due to there being less squares, and sometimes even no squares, blocking the animation. And guessing the catchphrase correctly wins the contestant money. Catchphrase would not become a hit with viewers, resulting in the show suffering from low ratings, which would ultimately cause it to get cancelled after airing for less than 4 months. However, there was a UK version of the show that was called the same name as the American version, except there was no space in between the words catch and phrase. And unlike the American version, the UK version managed to pull high ratings. There also was an Australian version of the show called Burgo's Catchphrase that also pulled higher ratings than the American version too. Before the American version aired on television, there was a pilot for the show that was shot in 1985, with it having former American professional basketball player Rick Barry as the host instead of Art James. and it was recently found on February 12, 2025 by Wink Martindale, who uploaded it to his YouTube channel. When it comes to lost media that surfaces on the internet, we usually see lost commercials, television show episodes, films, and music resurfacing. However, we rarely ever hear about lost phone calls resurfacing. But believe it or not, one did resurface very recently on February 12, 2025, which was the final 911 phone call of spree killer Seth Ator, who would go on to murder 7 people and injure 25 others on August 31st, 2019, the same day of him making his final phone call. And the incident would happen in the West Texas cities of Midland and Odessa between 3:17 p.m. and 4:20 p.m., ending with Seth getting shot and killed by police outside of a Odessa movie theater. Prior to the shooting, Seth Ator was in the process of getting terminated from his job for being rude to other employees at a contracted job site, where he would become upset and refuse to hand over property that rightfully belonged to the company he worked for, resulting in Seth's former employer making a phone call to the Odessa Police Department at 1:27 p.m. to report his poor behavior. However, Seth would start firing back by making a false accusation about the company, saying that they were distributing CP. If you know what that acronym stands for, because I can't say the 2 words together in this video or else it would get demonetized or age restricted. And before leaving, he would then get into his car and ram through the company's fence as he left. Seth Ator would then make a series of 911 calls, including his infamous final phone call that I mentioned earlier, and in his calls, he would bring up a lot of crazy and false accusations, such as saying that a cult is stalking him and posting CP, as well as his employer kidnapping him and forcing him to watch CP. Seth also demanded the police to help him track down the cult who was stalking him, saying that he would start shooting if any law enforcement tried to kidnap him. And during his final 911 call, he was in the middle of his killing spree, where he was shooting other people driving down Texas's Interstate 20 highway while he was driving. As of making this video, it is unknown what Seth's motive was for him committing his killing spree, although it is considered that him having some sort of mental illness played a huge role in it. And as for his final 911 call, it was found by Reddit user BraveAward8666, who posted his call to the Mass Killer subreddit. Real Monsters is a Nickelodeon animated television series that was produced by Klasky Csupo Incorporated and Games Animation, and it would premiere on Nickelodeon on October 29, 1994, becoming the 5th Nicktoon to air on the network, where it would air over 52 episodes in a span of 4 seasons. The show centers around 3 young monsters who are named Ickis, Oblina, and Crumb, who attend a school for monsters under a city dump where they learn how to frighten humans. And a lot of the show's episodes would revolve around their zany antics after they make it to the surface where the humans live, in order to perform scares as class assignments. Before the show premiered on Nickelodeon, Klasky Csupo made a pitch pilot for the series. And up until the pilot was found, only 3 low-quality screenshots and a promo from 1994 that contained small clips from it were available, with YouTuber That 90s Guy uploading the promo to YouTube before it was taken down due to his channel getting terminated. However, a capture of it has been uploaded to the Wayback Machine for anyone to view. Recently, on February 15, 2025, the pilot would be uploaded to Reddit on the cartoon subreddit by the user Oprah Windu, who obtained it from an online friend of his, although the copy given to him was cropped to a 16:9 aspect ratio and upscaled by AI. But fortunately, you can watch the pilot in its original quality, as it would end up being uploaded to the Internet Archive 2 days later on February 17th by Lost Media Wiki user Haley. In the pilot, we can see some changes from the main series, most notably the headmaster of the monster school they attend, the Gromble, being called the Womble. And the reason for the name change later on was to avoid confusion with another series called The Wombles, that was still airing on television when the show was about to debut on Nickelodeon. We can also see that Ickis wears glasses in it, whereas in the main series he doesn't wear them, and that the pilot's plot would be remade in the episode Monsters Get Real, with added footage of the sewer journey and better animation. Also, I don't know why I didn't mention this earlier, but the pilot has a different name from the main series, with it being called Real Monsters instead of Real Monsters. Alright, so I don't think I really need to explain who Dua Lipa is and what she is known for because her songs are widely recognized by just about anyone born within the last 40 years. But for any viewers watching who are in a country where her music isn't popular, or any viewers who have been living under a rock during the past decade, here is a brief description about her for you guys to pause the video and read right now. Anyways, one of her unreleased songs called Gettin' Good was recently found on February 15th, 2025, when it surfaced on the internet. And it was recorded in 2018, with it being intended to appear on her second studio album, Future Nostalgia, before it was scrapped. Yo Soy Betty La Fea, which translates to I Am Betty the Ugly One in English, was a Colombian telenovela that aired from October 25, 1999 to May 8, 2001 on the Colombian television network RCN. That starred Colombian actress Ana Maria Orozco as the show's main character, Beatriz Betty Aurora Pinzon Solano, who has a crush on a guy named Armando Mendoza Sainz, who is a very incompetent playboy with a scheme to turn a huge profit as the new president of the popular clothing manufacturing company Eco Moda, which means eco-fashion in English. However, his scheme is ruined because of his faulty mathematics, and he is also engaged to someone, despite being Betty's crush. As the series progresses, it goes through 3 different movements, which are the movement where Armando is foolishly causing the destruction of Eco Moda while Betty is working there, the movement where Betty undergoes an emotional and physical transformation after getting hired at her temporary new job in the Colombian city Cartagena, and the movement where Betty returns to working for Eco Moda where she becomes the company's new CEO. The show would end up receiving multiple international remakes, becoming the first telenovela to have been remade worldwide. And in later years, the series would end up getting 2 sequel series, which were Eco Moda in 2001 and Betty La Fea La Historia Continua in 2024, as well as a spin-off series in 2002 called Betty Tunes. Recently, on February 19th, 2025, the majority of an episode from a Japanese dub of the show was found by Pablo Alvarado. Okay, so while I was making this video, another VeggieTales live show got found, which was their Rockin Tour live show that happened from 2005 to 2006. And it was found by the same channel that found the VeggieTales Live on Stage show from 2002, with it being found on February 22nd, 2025. So yeah, there's a little update for you guys. From 1999 to 2010, MTV would air a show called Making the Video. That would air half-hour-long episodes with each of them centering around a specific music video and chronicling the process of how they were filmed, and ending in the quote-unquote world premiere of the finished music video in each episode. The majority of the show was produced by Toy Plane Industries, with it airing a total of 213 episodes in a span of 14 seasons. And considering that the show aired a lot of episodes, you can probably make the assumption that a lot of them ended up becoming lost or partially lost, which is exactly the case. However, a season 13 episode from the show would end up being found very recently on February 23rd, 2025, when it was uploaded to YouTube by TV Music. And it documented the filming process for the music video to Fall Out Boy's 2006 single, A Little Less 16 Candles, A Little More Touch Me. Although, as of making this video, the majority of the show's episodes still have yet to be completely found. During the years 1982 to 1984, Nickelodeon would air a series called Against the Odds that would feature inspirational stories of important people throughout history, with each episode documenting the lives of historical figures. And the series was hosted by American actor and television director Bill Bixby and narrated by American actor and member of the Firesign Theater, Philip Proctor. Against the Odds would end up being panned by viewers and critics due to its serious nature that didn't fit with Nickelodeon's for kids approach they were going for, which would leave behind a poor legacy for the show and cause almost all of its episodes to become lost due to them being largely forgotten about. Very recently, on February 25th, 2025, an episode from the show was found and uploaded to YouTube. That documented the lives of American documentary photographer and photojournalist Dorothea Lange, who is best known for taking this iconic image in 1936 called Migrant Mother, and American architect, designer, writer, and educator Frank Lloyd Wright, who would go on to design more than 1,000 structures over a 70-year period. As of making this video, only 4 episodes from the show are completely found, and 1 is partially found. In 1981, famous and controversial animator Ralph Bakshi would screen his latest animated short film titled The Cigarette and the Weed. And in case you don't know who Ralph Bakshi is and what he is most known for, he is an animator that would begin his career at the Terrytoons Television Cartoon Studio as a cell polisher in 1956, before getting promoted to an animator and later a director, which was the animation studio that is known for producing the Mighty Mouse theatrical cartoons, and also the 1939 animated cartoon The Free Bears, which would contain the scene in which the outdated Spaghetti Bear meme is based on. And in 1968, he would start his own animation studio called Bakshi Productions. Bakshi would make his theatrical feature film debut in 1972 with his film he directed called Fritz the Cat, which would become the first American animated film to receive an X rating, which basically indicates that the film contains adult-suitable content, such as scenes of graphic violence or explicit sexual acts, for example. Also, the X rating was the predecessor of the NC-17 rating we have now. Bakshi is also well known for directing the films Wizards, The Lord of the Rings, American Pop, and Fire and Ice, as well as producing the Mighty Mouse The New Adventures series that ran from 1987 to 1988. Anyways, getting back to what this entry is about, Bakshi's film The Cigarette and the Weed would serve as his attempt to have a cartoon shown before a motion picture in movie theaters, with it being 3 minutes in length and telling the story of a weed growing on a street corner and a discarded cigarette butt that rolls up to the weed, to which the two converse before the cigarette rolls into a puddle and is extinguished. The film would be screened at multiple film festivals, and a brief audioless clip of it was featured in the 1982 film Halloween Free: Season of the Witch. However, it was never publicly available to watch, thus making it lost for several decades. But recently, on February 25, 2025, the film would surface online when Ralph Bakshi uploaded the entire film to his X account, making it available to watch. And those were pieces of lost media that were found in February 2025. Now let's see what lost media March 2025 will give us. And until that month is over, I will see you guys in my next video.